Hello, this is Cynthia Sue Larson with RealityShifters.com, and today I'd love to talk with you about some of the principal ideas about getting the best possible year of your life. It doesn't matter whether you've already made or broken New Year's resolutions. In fact, it doesn't matter what time of the year it is at all, because what I'd love to share with you are some basic ideas that I present in my book, Quantum Jumps. This book is just published recently. It's an extraordinary science of happiness and prosperity. And one of the things that I share in the book is the idea that I lived through myself. Because when I came to UC Berkeley as a young undergraduate student in the physics department, this is back in the 1980s. I noticed as I looked around the lecture halls that I was surrounded by mostly men. In fact, there were just a handful of other women in the entire program, maybe 4 or 5 of us total. And not only were these mostly men, but they were mostly Asian men, mostly not even speaking English. This is back in the 1980s, and fortunately for me, I'd already gone through something similar to this, not quite as severe, but when I was studying, taking a class in physics in high school, I'd been the only girl in the classroom at that time as well. And something that I'd learned to do is just tell myself that lots of people, lots of girls exactly like me, do really well in physics. Lots of girls exactly like me do really well in math. This is something that each of us can tell ourselves, and it turns out that it has profound positive effects. What I found out personally is not only did it enable me to feel completely at home in an environment in high school that otherwise would have felt a bit foreign, because every time a young lady walked by outside of our classroom in high school, not only were all the students men, but the teacher was a male, and everybody would stop and turn and look to see who was going past the window. So it was just little subtle things like that that tell you you're a little bit different here. And knowing that enabled me to smoothly sail through physics at UC Berkeley, even though the students in the classrooms weren't even speaking English. It didn't matter. Physics is mostly all about math. So they were just writing down the lecture notes, mostly in math and equations. Anyway, the exciting thing that I'd like to share with you that affects all of us, besides this idea that you can start telling yourself that lots of people, exactly like you, do really well at what you're about to do, regardless of the circumstance, regardless of the economy. Just start by giving yourself that kind of positive feedback, and you'll be amazed at the difference that it makes in your, not only your mental outlook, but the opportunities that present themselves by virtue of the fact that you're in a much more receptive state of consciousness. When you're looking for opportunities, you tend to find them. And that was certainly true for me. I'd like to share with you a little bit more about what's going on now. I've mentioned before that the NASA Ames Research Center and Google purchased the D-Wave 2 computer for $17 million, and this triggered the beginning of the quantum age back in September 2013. There's been an exciting development because now NASA Ames Research has developed a new entire program which is pretty open to the public, thanks to it being a government body. And it's not completely open, but they are showing some of the preliminary structure and results from their quantum artificial intelligence laboratory, Quail, which is our state bird in the state of California. So it's kind of a cute play on words. And the reason all of this has something to do with each of us is that we are completely changing our way of thinking right now. We're moving into this, what I describe in my book, Quantum Jumps, as literally this holographic multiverse that we can start recognizing is just as true here on the human macroscopic scale as it is on the microscopic scale, which means that we do see things from time to time that indicate to us that we exist in a superposition of states, that each and every one of us, and this is something that came up that was recently the majority opinion of physicists that were polled on the subject as they were attending a conference on physics. So we can tap into our intuition, which is our means of accessing that knowledge that everything around us is simultaneously in many different states. This, in my opinion, and the way I've expressed it in the book, and based on lots of studies, is what's behind the placebo effect. When people are taking either a placebo pill, doing a placebo surgery, or just taking a test and being told, you've got this. The answers are being flashed on your screen. And even if gibberish is actually being flashed on their screen, people do the same amount better that they do if they're taking sugar pills, getting sham surgery. All these placebo effects are hitting usually in about at least the 25%, often 30% improvement range, sometimes as much as 70%. And in fact, this placebo effect has been increasing, even when you tell people that they're on a placebo of some sort. So that's why it works for all of us to start recognizing that you can tell yourself today, I've got this. This is going to be the best year of my life. And you can really start to feel the excitement and the energy that happens when you walk into that life that already exists out there in this wonderful superposition of states of all possibility, and recognize that you can live that life right now. So until next time, keep asking, how good can it get? This is Cynthia Sue Larson with realityshifters.com.